The tropics remain very busy as Hurricane Fiona continues to spin across the western Atlantic, and a monster storm that could get itself into the Gulf of Mexico and toward the Florida Peninsula into next week that could become a hurricane. And we're also tracking severe weather across the Great Lakes and Northeast the next couple of days, followed by a fall cold front bringing colder than normal temperatures across the Great Lakes and the Northeast as we head into this upcoming weekend, and also some heavy rainfall across portions of the desert Southwest that could become a flash flooding event as we head through the next couple of days. Welcome back, everyone, to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. If you guys are new to the channel and have yet to subscribe, hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my important weather forecast updates here on this channel. It's free to do, and you guys, we have very good weather content here on this channel. Long-range weather forecast, tropical weather updates, a lot of weather forecast content that you guys do not want to miss, so definitely hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get endless weather forecast updates here on this channel. So looking currently here this morning at the visible satellite imagery kind of zoomed up here on Hurricane Fiona, we got a lot of thunderstorm activity here wrapping around the center of low pressure here across the greater Antilles. As this moves across portions here of the open waters of the western Atlantic, it is going to strengthen very quickly to a major hurricane, category 3 hurricane here, and even possibly a category 4 hurricane as we get towards the Bermuda area as we get into the late week portion here this week. So looking at the cone of uncertainty here with the National Hurricane Center's official forecast, it does remain at major hurricane status all the way through probably Friday evening, if not Saturday morning, as it gets all the way up here into portions of eastern Canada and really into the far northwestern Atlantic Ocean, and really remaining a hurricane as it makes landfall again into eastern Canada. So definitely something to watch all the way up to the north here in Canada. But looking at Bermuda, Bermuda, we could be in the crosshairs of a category 4 hurricane here, and looking at the intensities, it looks to be a category 3, if not a borderline category 4 hurricane once it makes its way up toward Bermuda as we head through the next 60 hours, 84 hours or so here the next few days before it starts to kind of weaken a little bit, ever so slightly, as it gets up into eastern portions of Canada. So tracking this afternoon, we got a 965 millibar low, a very powerful hurricane starting to take shape across portions of the western Atlantic, coming off of the greater Antilles here and towards the far eastern Bahamas and getting back over the open water. So this is going to rapidly deepen. By the time we get into Thursday, September 22nd, this rapidly deepens to a 939 millibar low and likely what is to be a category 4 hurricane across the western Atlantic as it moves up toward Bermuda. And by the time we get into Friday afternoon, Friday night, still a 940 millibar low with a major category 3 or category 4 hurricane as it crosses through the Bermuda area as we get towards late this week into early this coming weekend. We are watching, however, another system here making inroads into the eastern Caribbean, has right now a 40% chance here of a probability of developing in the next 2 to 5 days, according to the National Hurricane Center's forecast across portions of the Windward Islands and back across the eastern Caribbean over the open waters here. And looking at the visible satellite imagery of that, we have, Hurricane Fiona up here, and we have another wave across portions of the southern Atlantic Ocean that's going to press its way to the west-northwest over the next several days, and this would be the focal point for what could become a monster storm into the Caribbean and Gulf as we move into next week, which could actually have major implications, major impacts across the United States. So this could be a system to watch as we head into next week. So let's break this down for you guys a little bit more. This is the European forecast model here. As we get into this weekend, especially the latter portion of this weekend on your Sunday, September 25th, the last weekend of September, it looks like we have a 1007 millibar low pressure starting to develop here right across the central and western Caribbean, just to the east of the Central Americas. Now, as we move into early next week, the forecast guidance has actually been pretty consistent the last couple of days, the last 24 to 48 hours, of showing this rapidly deepening here over the western Caribbean. And we've told you guys we've had a lot of warmer waters here. This will rapidly deepen to possibly a 999 millibar low, probably potentially a stronger tropical storm by early next week before it starts to build potentially over into portions of the central and eastern Gulf of Mexico, potentially late next week, as a strong, formidable hurricane, potentially according to the European forecast model here, showing a 970 millibar low. And comparing that to the GFS, it actually is showing a 941 millibar low. But what is really incredible about these two model runs is that if you see that the European forecast model and the GFS model is very similar in the track of this system here by the time we get into next Wednesday and Thursday time frame. So this is concerning for portions of the Gulf and even Florida and the southeastern United States. Definitely want to keep tabs on the forecast the next several days to keep up to date on this storm. But looking here at the GFS, if we were to have kind of what's called a worst case scenario here of possibly a very strong hurricane category 3 or higher, this would bring a lot of huge waves across the eastern Gulf of Mexico that could be up to around 40 feet at the peak across portions of the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico, which will have a lot of onshore flow toward Florida and the southeast. So that will be something to watch here for storm surge and maybe some winds as well with this system and lots of rainfall. So that will be something to watch here if that worst case scenario does pan out. And the reason I show you the worst case scenario is because, guys, look at the water temperatures across the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. We have the oranges, even some red showing up. These sea surface temperatures are incredibly favorable for a hurricane, if not a major hurricane, to develop here. We got 85 to near 90 degree Fahrenheit sea surface temperatures across this area. That is a breeding ground for a hurricane across this area. So I definitely want to keep close eyes on this, and I will across these areas here to keep you ahead of all of the dangerous weather here that could unfold next week toward the southeastern United States. So we'll continue to keep tabs on that here in my latest forecast guidance and forecast updates. But looking here into the rest of this week, we have a strong jet stream across portions of the west coast. That is in association with an upper level positively tilted trough just along the northern periphery of this high pressure system, or what we call a ridge. We're going to have that stronger jet as we head here into later on this afternoon and continuing into your Wednesday as well. We have a very strong 110 to 120 jet streak here moving across portions of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes and into portions of the Northeast. And this will create some severe weather, especially as we head into today and tomorrow. So starting today, the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 outlook shows a slight risk, a level 2 of 5 across northern Wisconsin and the western UP of Michigan, and even the marginal risk extending down toward portions of Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Grand Rapids, Michigan here later on this afternoon. Looking here at the hazards with the storms that could develop later on today, we have a 5% shading there of winds across the entire western Great Lakes there. And then as we kind of move into the probability for large hail, it's a little bit higher, a little more elevated, with a 15% shading across the north woods of Wisconsin into portions of western upper peninsula of Michigan there. The hail threat looks to be a little bit more elevated than the wind threat here today. And we also do have a tornado risk. We have a 2% shading across northern Wisconsin and the western UP of Michigan later on today as well. So let's show you the setup of this here. We got dew points, a lot of low-level moisture advecting northward all the way into southern and southeastern Canada here today. Dew points will be rising near 70 degrees here on average around northern Wisconsin and western portions of the UP of Michigan later on this afternoon. You can clearly see where that cold front resides across portions of western Minnesota into the Dakotas, where we have dew points rapidly decreasing back to the 30s and 40s behind that front. We also do see a lifting mechanism with that front as well. We have instability, or what we call CAPE, convective available potential energy, kind of some thunderstorm energy to feed off of later on today. This will be up to around 2,500, perhaps 3,000 joules per kilogram across much of the western Great Lakes. And this will fuel some thunderstorm potential here as we head towards later on this afternoon. So looking around 2, 3, 4 o'clock time frame, the radar may look quiet, but as we get towards that dinner time frame, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, we may start to see some isolated supercells start to pop up across northern Wisconsin and the western UP of Michigan. These could be hailers. We could see hail up to around quarter, perhaps half dollar size here later on today. damaging wind gusts that could be in excess of 60 miles per hour, and perhaps one or two of these storms rotating and potentially producing a tornado. So we'll continue to watch this. If you live in northern Wisconsin, Rhinelander, into portions there of just north of Green Bay, up towards the western UP of Michigan, you definitely have to keep tabs on this later today. But even as we move into the overnight hours, it really quickly weakens here. We start to see more storms moving into portions of Ontario, Canada, and less storms across the border here in the United States as we kind of lose that energy as the sun does set later on this evening. Now, I did take a sounding here of this because there is a bit of a concern for a cap on the atmosphere, and what I mean by that is that there's a little bit of a warm layer aloft. As you get into the mid-levels of the atmosphere, you can see where the reds and greens come together on this map here, and that is kind of, or on this diagram, and you can definitely see how they come together. That is a little bit more of a cap in the low to mid-levels of the atmosphere. They may prevent, some of those updrafts to grow to 40, 50, 60,000 feet later today. Those type of updrafts produce severe weather. Right now, it has a possible hazard tag of tornado, but again, that cap could only kind of limit the coverage of storms. So I do think the coverage of storms today will be pretty isolated, but if you do see one, they could be severe. Now, moving into the day on Wednesday, tomorrow, we do have actually a slight risk for severe weather extending farther east towards Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York, getting into portions there as well of places like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Ohio, getting back up into Syracuse there, into Buffalo, New York. Some of these areas under a slight risk tomorrow. A marginal risk extending farther to the west into Indianapolis and Detroit, some of these areas tomorrow. We are looking at the damaging winds and hail tomorrow as the hazards, but we also do have a larger 2% shading of a tornado risk for portions of north central Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, and much of western New York as we head into the day tomorrow here on your Wednesday. And again, the similar setup, we have a cold front dropping south out of the base of that trough across the southeastern Canada area and the Midwest. Dew points ahead of that front will be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees, providing plenty of instability, plenty of fuel, with dew points rising, like I said, well into the 60s. Instability or CAPE values, convective available potential energy, will be rising well into the 2,000 joules per kilogram range, and we'll start to see some scattered showers and storms. Now, I do think here on Wednesday the coverage may be a little bit higher due to the kind of lack of capping inversion on the atmosphere Wednesday afternoon. More of these widespread storms will be developing across southeastern Ontario, Canada, crossing over Lake Erie here into portions of Pennsylvania, here into northern Ohio and western New York later on Wednesday afternoon, and then we'll start to see more scattered showers and storms. Some of these could become severe as well across portions there of New York, Pennsylvania, southeastern Ohio as we get toward the evening hours, and maybe with that front here as well, some scattered showers here with rumbles of thunder back farther west towards southern Iowa, western Illinois, northern Missouri, and perhaps toward the Lincoln, Nebraska area as well. That should not be severe though, but as we move into the evening and overnight hours, we'll start to say goodbye to the severe weather as we move into the Thursday morning time frame, as we lose all that heating and the instability into that time frame. Now, looking back across the west here on Wednesday, we actually do have a flash flood watch in effect here across portions of Arizona, Utah, portions of New Mexico, and Colorado here. This is an area we could have some very heavy rainfall over the next 24 to 48 hours or so. We actually looking at the 72-hour precipitation map all the way through the end of the day on Thursday. We could see widespread rainfall amounts toward the Rockies there, the southern and central Rockies here just to the west of Denver, approaching 2 to 4 inches in some of these spots, especially into southwestern Colorado, northwestern New Mexico, northeastern Arizona, and southeastern Utah here, some very heavy rainfall. And the Weather Prediction Center actually has hoisted a moderate risk of excessive rainfall and flash flooding, so some widespread flash flooding is possible across portions of southwestern Colorado, extreme northwestern portions of New Mexico, and getting into southeastern Utah as well, with a large slight risk for excessive rainfall getting back towards places north of Phoenix and back towards places there in eastern Utah as well, and northwestern New Mexico. So that's something we'll watch as well as we head into the day on Wednesday. But besides that, we're going to have a trough digging down across the eastern United States into your Thursday late week with a cold front. That will drive the severe weather threat offshore as we head into Thursday. Again, we may have a marginal risk across portions of Maryland, southern New Jersey, getting back through Delaware, into portions of Virginia and northern North Carolina. Mainly just some isolated strong thunderstorms with some smaller hail, some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and perhaps a brief spin-up tornado on your Thursday. But more importantly, looking at your temperatures out there, this cold front will bring some fall-like temperatures, and right on time as Thursday here, it concludes kind of the fall equinox here, start of fall across these areas in the United States. Upper 50s, lower 60s across much of the upper Midwest, the northern plains, back across the Great Lakes and parts of the interior New England region. But look at these overnight lows as we head into Thursday night into Friday morning. You could be waking up to lows in the middle 30s across the UP of Michigan, the North Woods of Wisconsin, and perhaps northern lower Michigan as well. A lot of 40s out there across portions of the Great Lakes and New England here, waking up on your Friday morning. And looking at Friday afternoon, temperatures will kind of reside into the middle and upper 50s again across portions there of the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, back across portions there of Maine, New Jersey, portions there of Vermont, New Hampshire. A lot of these areas will be into the 50s and 60s, where all of that heat will kind of get smashed farther southward, kind of squeezed southward toward the Gulf Coast, where we have widespread upper 90s to near 100s as we get into portions of Texas and the immediate Gulf Coast down there toward Houston, into portions there of Shreveport, Louisiana, and even toward New Orleans on your Friday. Looking longer range, the Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from September 25th through September 29th does favor above normal temperatures likely across the Rockies and the entire West Coast, including the Pacific Northwest. As that trough continues across the Northeast, we'll have below normal temperatures, and then in between, kind of near normal across portions of the middle Mississippi Valley. But looking here as we get into this upcoming weekend, that trough will continue to kind of move into eastern Canada, and we'll start to see return flow across the western United States with some above normal anomalies showing up here in the orange shaded colors. And this will really start to amplify as we have kind of another trough digging down across the northeastern Pacific. We got another trough kind of lingering across the East Coast, and what I call a squeeze effect, where we have kind of a blocking pattern, almost an omega block across portions here of the western United States as we get into late this weekend. And looking into early next week, look how far north that jet stream goes, all the way up almost to Alaska as we head into early next week. So you definitely can expect a large ridge with the high pressure underneath that, and again, a lot of dry air as well. You can see with all that dry air, likely, if not expected, to be below normal precipitation during that September 25th through the September 29th timeframe across much of the north central United States, including portions of the Dakotas, eastern portions there of Montana, all the way south towards Kansas there in Colorado, and over east there towards the western Great Lakes. Slightly above normal precipitation underneath that trough across New England there into Maine, all the way back to New York, Boston, New York City area. Again, that will kind of conclude the month of September. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely hope that video was informative and valuable for you guys. If you did like it, remember to like the video down below by giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free to do, guys. Hit the notification bell to get all of my important weather forecast updates. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you all in the next video.